Hey everybody, it's Alexander Dahl with Manifest Vitality once again. So here we are. We have the final video for the current wave of interviews that I conducted over the past couple months. So we're going to take a little break after this one, and then it'll probably be, I don't know, maybe late July when I start booking for the next wave of interviews. If you're catching this during that break time, there's a good catalog of these interviews to go back through and listen to. Otherwise, I'll start reaching out to people probably midway July and start booking for the next wave. All right, without any more of all that, here's the interview. All right, bye. All right, so I'm currently on the phone with Brett. He's another one of the musicians that reached out to me about the current interview series going on. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
Hey, how's it going? I am Brett Weisz. I am a musician out of Denver, Colorado, and I'm a vocalist. I go by the nickname Vocal Chameleon because I have 5 octaves in my range. I can go pretty dang low and pretty dang high, almost Mariah Carey high and pretty low. Anyway,
Nice.
I'm a very playful individual and I'm a lot of energy. So when you see me on stage, if I'm not moving around, it better be a really sappy song.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about how you first found music. What was it about music that, you kind of first identified with? I'm sorry, my cat is making sounds in the background.
I have that capability with cats for some reason. I'm just kidding. Um, Long story short, when it comes to music, I have been addicted to it since day one. Honestly, I think I was in the womb when my mom was playing music for me. I'm sure that millions and billions of people have that exact same scenario to their life. But for me, it was liberating. It was the one place where I felt safe. It was one place where I felt like I didn't have to hide
Hmm.
who I was. I got to be exactly who I am. And as a lot of people say, music is life.
Hmm.
But for me, I was one of those individuals that wanted to turn the tide and make life music. Obviously, a lot of people end up under bridgeways, and a lot of people end up on top of mountains
Hmm.
because of music. But long story short, music drives us all. There's always a song that will help us through the day, depending on what it is.
Definitely. So once you kind of identified that you had that ambition, what were your first steps in like learning an instrument or getting into a band?
Well, obviously, the easiest instrument for me was the fact that I carried it around at all times. That's
Hmm.
why I'm a vocalist. I could literally be doing anything at any time, and the fact that I have ADHD really helped. Well, into just being that obnoxious kid back in elementary that's always singing some random song. And if I was a kid during the most recent big hit of Baby Shark, I guarantee I would have been that kid that drove everybody insane. But music, music saves lives, to say the least.
So when you were going through school, did you participate in like the choir programs or did you kind of just completely hone it on your own?
Surprisingly, I never actually went into formal training of any other level other than like freshman year of high school. I went into guitar, and it was fun. It wasn't really my jam, so I consider myself an advanced beginner of guitar,
Hmm.
which is why I usually won't pick up a guitar on stage. But um, in junior year and senior year, I got into choir. I got a little professional training, and that's basically all the training I've really had up until recently. I decided to finally step into vocal lessons kind of what role, because there's so much great talent out these days that needing to compete in a how do I put this properly, a positive manner,
Hmm.
in a constructive way.
So how would you say that you kind of went about the process of starting to sing for bands and starting to create your own material? And then, how did you identify what kind of content that you wanted to create?
Well, I'm a very I'm like a hopeless romantic, so I lead with my heart. Yeah, there's a billion love songs, a billion and a half probably, but I always feel that there's another song to be written because there's always another life experience that's happening today. tomorrow, the next day, that needs to be written, that needs to be expressed, that needs to have some resonance. I mean, you might know what a dog looks like, and if photography was never a thing, somebody would have to paint it.
Mm-hmm.
And if people didn't know how to paint or didn't have the material, you wouldn't know what a dog looked like.
Sure.
Well, here I am trying to describe these particular feelings that I'm sure a lot of people have had. And I need to help convey it because, as a lot of the big pros, Ella Fitzgerald, Mel Torme, Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, they used to say, there's three keys to singing. There's hitting the right note, putting that word, whatever the lyrics are, to that note.
Mm-hmm.
And the third most important part that most singers, most performers don't and can't seem to figure out is putting that emotion behind the words and behind the notes and behind the drive of that song.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that the particular style that you put into your lyrics is a little bit more explorational into like the emotive value of it rather than like something a bit more like shallowly themed?
Yeah. I'm extremely expressive. That was the one niche that I figured out during the album while we were laying down tracks for this record.
Mm-hmm.
The first couple of ones, I was trying to be so structured and so methodical about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And some of the strongest songs that we have on this album were literally the ones where they said, just sing, just feel it out, see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And my most powerful song is Asylum because I literally just got in there, turned off all knowledge of the song, remembrance of anything, and I just decided, you know what? I'm going to sing how I want to sing the song, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If it does, it does.
Sure.
This isn't the end of the line. This isn't set in stone.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how this works. And it turned out to be one of the absolute best recordings I've ever done in my entire life.
Originally it was going to be a throwaway.
And yeah, actually that song was supposed to be thrown away. Asylum was originally written by Jason, my manager, the Ardell. That's why it's a little secret. He was originally going to throw that one away because he didn't see any success in it. And I remember looking at him like, well, I'm going to see something. I want to see what I can do. And I'd had a couple drinks. I was a little loosey-goosey, and
Mm-hmm.
I had a fun time with it. And I decided to let all the emotions out. Everything was unboxed, and that's what you got.
Sure. So it sounds like you definitely had some good practice and some good interactions, kind of honing your craft and finding out, how you wanted to, focus the content that you're writing. How was it that you met your current manager and started the current project that you're working on?
Our dynamic is absolutely fantastic, if you ask me. This gentleman was honestly just kind of hoping to put down something for his legacy. That's all he was thinking about. He was like, what am I going to give to my kids, my grandkids? He got to travel the world in a lot of different facets, and I'm sure you're going to get the opportunity of talking to him. But his story is fantastic, and I really encourage you to listen to his story. Long story short, he needed a singer to put all this together, and he went to some random studio. They had a random singer. I came in on a random day, and it was just magic. It was magic.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally like love at first sight, kind of. It was like something that was meant to happen the way it happened. And he presented this project to me after I laid down the first tracks for the first song.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this grandiose idea of, you know what, I'm going to put a band behind you and see what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And it jump-started the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
He found some of the absolute best musicians I've ever worked with in my entire life. And we put down this record that, honestly, I would never be able to duplicate if I had a million tries.
So that brings us up to kind of where you currently are now. What are some really prominent memories that have happened to you surrounding music? Whether it be, getting into that studio, having that, eureka moment, or, going to a show and being inspired.
There's too many to count. So I'm trying to really narrow it down to just one that really, really struck home at this exact moment.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been one of those individuals that is always looking for the next step. You know, you accomplish something and then what's next? And if I ever reached a glass ceiling, I would redirect and start over with something completely brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with music, luckily there's never been a glass ceiling. There's always something new to learn. There's always something new to create or do.
Mm-hmm.
So my memory boils down to when I was a kid, my stepdad would be sitting down with my mom on the couch, and I'd be upstairs in my room on a computer, and the Minesweeper
Mm-hmm.
and Solitaire and all that fun, like the fun free games that they would give you on the original Windows 95 or whatever. I'd be sitting up there on my computer for hours after school, hours, literally hours, and just bouncing. And I would just be bopping up and down,
Mm-hmm.
singing the same song over and over and over and over. And my stepdad was like, "Wow, he just never stops." And that was my click. I was like, all right, I love to sing. I love to be the center of attention. I love to give the attention to others. But also, I just love that feeling of creating a memory for someone else. That is the biggest thing for me. Because I remember going to concerts. I remember going to bars that had performances. I remember just going out to a state fair out in California. And Pat Benatar just happened to be playing that night. And I remember that night so vividly now because the music was great, because it was just an experience in and of itself. Like, how many random days at work do you just all of a sudden arbitrarily remember?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now multiply that by 10, and every single time you go to a concert, you remember every detail. You remember walking into the venue. You remember seeing them for the first time. You remember the first song they sang. You remember the last song they sang. You remember them looking directly in your eyes, and you go, "Oh, they know who I am."
Mm-hmm.
That is the memories that I like to create.
Sure. Definitely. That's very cool. So you did mention that you guys are currently in the process of finishing up recording your current album, but do you guys have anything out there that people can take a listen to right now?
Honestly, we're actually finished with this particular record. We are just about to start putting together the next album. Because obviously once the first one goes and we start a little tour,
Mm-hmm.
we obviously have to have more to back it up.
Sure.
You know,
Of course.
we don't want to be small little flings. But you can find us at Ardell's Little Secret. You can find us at Brett Weisz, Weisz, Weisz as in zebra. You can find us a lot of different places, but the main song that we're really pushing is Asylum. That's the most original one that we got. That is truly unique.
Video came out Friday.
The video came out Friday. I'm glad that my manager's sitting next to me because there's a lot of pieces that are in. But Love Is Alive is one of our really big ones, and that's a cover from Gary Wright. I think he released it, 1979?
1974.
74. But yeah, he presented this song to me, and I had never, he goes, "Oh, it's a huge song," and all the people around me, my dad, my people around me that were of elder age, they're like, "Oh, that's a really popular song."
Mm-hmm.
I go, "Oh, my bad. I should have known that." And laid it down, and it's completely unique to us.
Sure, definitely.
And I highly recommend just at least checking it out and going, okay, so what do you consider your group aura? Well, that's why I consider it the new era throwback, because it's brand new stuff, new material. Yes, we have a lot of influences from a lot of different sources. I'm talking, we have individuals in this band that were touring with REO Speedwagon, touring with Scorpions, touring with all these big names. And then they're just, hey, I'm going to just lay down some tracks with you. Oh, cool. Let's do this.
That's awesome.
What do you know? Oh, I grew up in the 90s, so I know a lot of that.
Well, that's very cool. So I always like to give the person that I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out a message, something that you kind of feel resonates with you.
Only one? Clearly, I have so many ideas. Don't be afraid to be you. There's there's not enough you in this world. There's not enough love in this world. And what I mean by that is just embrace the people around you. Don't look at the guy that didn't put his signal on turning left or turning right or whatever and be like, oh, you should have turned your. You know what? We all have had those moments. Don't look at the singer up on that stage that hit that one sour note. Like, well, he's more or she's more power, more courageous than me to get up on that stage and put themselves out there. There's a lot of people that I know that live in boxes that are afraid to step outside their comfort zone. And if you're constantly stepping outside of your comfort zone, you'll be happier. You'll be more successful.
Don't be afraid to take a chance.
Don't ever be afraid to take a chance.